Every once in a while you get to work on a project that is really unique, and this is one of them. It's an end of the bed bench, a foot of the bed bench. It's a bench at the end of the bed that you sit on to enjoy the end of your bed. All right, something like that. I like doing these kind of pieces because I don't really need a major plan. There's not a ton of joinery. There's nothing crazy going on. I've built pieces for this home before, so I kind of understand the flow and the end goal of what the piece needs to look like and kind of what it needs to feel like. So I just, went crazy. No design. I know, hard to believe. I did, however, kind of figure out the joinery in advance because I needed that from a dimension standpoint. So to say that I had no plan, well, that's kind of a big lie. But to say that I had some super 3D model, well, that wasn't how this one worked. This is called soul woodworking. So there's like the CNC, the 360-degree model, the 4-dimension model, so on and so forth. But this was just kind of good old-fashioned woodworking, letting it flow, catching that perfect wave, and just riding it to the finish. This is not an extremely complex piece. And sometimes when you have very simplistic pieces, it's difficult to make them really just kind of pop. And that is something that I really was kind of striving for here. Kind of the step one was obviously, let's get good lumber. Let's make sure everything has kind of the look and feel that I'm looking for. And then from there, start breaking everything down and laying everything out. Now, traditionally, and for the most part, I always work everything in a very specific progression of events. That way, I'm not playing this kind of salsa dance in my shop with all the different tools. In this particular build, that was not the case. Now, I get asked a lot, where do you start? How do you work through it? Well, I always basically work from bandsaw to joiner to planer. But in this particular case, there's an aspect about the rusticness that I hadn't really solved in the beginning, and I wasn't 100% sure how I was going to do that. And because of that, I end up having to do a lot of salsa dancing in the shop. Now, my really good friend Blake over at BM Sculptures, he's always like, bro, how come you're not in the gym with me? And I said, why do I need to do that? I'm lifting 55-gallon drum bags full of wood. I mean, what do you have on that? So now that I've finished with my gains, bro, I've transitioned to the seat itself, the stretcher and the runners. So this is a pretty simple process. It's just a matter of putting everything together. In this case, I'm going to use a domino because it's super quick and super strong. Put this together, and then I can start doing final layout of the individual legs. For the legs, I had seriously 5 or 6 different ideas, from using live edge slabs to kind of creating my own different shape, almost thinking like the Y in a tree, how it kind of goes from the body of the tree and then it forks out into the branches. And I kind of went through my wood pile and looked at different, kind of different ideas and all that. And I just didn't love it. When you start getting into all this live edge, sometimes it can just get too much live edge. And so I decided to stay a little more traditional and rely a little more on the mid-century modern roots that I like. And I'm going to be doing a tapered leg, so it's going to kind of keep that nice look, but I'm going to then tie in the rustic kind of after the fact. Now, I love doing hand tool work. If you follow me, you know that I absolutely love the hand tool work. And I was just simply tuning up those outside edges to get the machine marks off. And then there's no need for me to really sand that once that is done. Now I'm kind of reviewing the initial joinery. I've dry fit everything. You can see I've created kind of a tongue and groove joint that is really strong, and it kind of has a cool look, really fits with this piece in my vision for what's going to be happening down the road. So just a little work back at the hand tool bench, clean up all these tool marks, and then get them prepared for initial glue up, and then I'll kind of step forward and get into shaping. Gluing up these joints is pretty simple. Just a little glue, little clamp, and just basically pretty much let them do their thing. Nothing too major. Once I get these out of clamps though, I'm gonna have to fine tune all these edges. And as you know, I absolutely love utilizing my hand tools. And this is actually one of my favorite hand planes that I use the most. It's a Lee Nielsen number 5.5. And the blade is just as sharp as you can imagine. Now, I didn't really think this process through in advance, but cutting this taper and round over was a little sketchy. And I think if I go ahead and ever do this again, I'm definitely going to do that in advance. Majority of the time, I will just cut and shape everything post glue up. And especially if it's just in kind of like a single flat piece, I'll just do everything all fully glued up because it's easy and it's quick. In this particular case, it was a little dicey. Now I'm working on the rustic piece of this. So I've got this vision of adding a live edge, essentially adding a live edge to the underside of the seat frame. And I've got this pretty cool idea. I just don't 100% really know how it's going to turn out. So we're just, like I said, I'm just going with the flow. With this slab broken down into a more manageable size, I can go ahead and start running it through the planer. Kind of do what's called a skip planing process, where I'm just going to slowly take little nibbles off of each side, flip it over back and forth, and keep running it through until it's relatively flat and a little more manageable. As well, I needed to just kind of take a look at what this slab looked like. It's an old piece of Bastogne walnut, air dried for about 3.5 years. And it's actually the perfect color I was looking for because I really want not this crazy white and black type contrast between the frame of the bench and this little accent piece, but I just want enough contrast, almost like a granola bar to honey type color. And I knew if I could kind of get that contrast right, that it was going to look really cool. I mean, just really, really cool. Plus, Bastogne walnut, when you put finish on Bastogne walnut, it's just really one of the best things you're ever gonna see. So now that I kind of have my whole vision put together, it's final sanding, and then we're ready for finish. While we're putting on some finish, I wanted to take a moment and thank you very much for checking out my video. I really appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button, show me some support so I can keep plugging along and working on these cool pieces and taking the time to share them with you. After a coat of finish, I go over it with a UV light, do another light sanding, one more really light coat, a second UV hit, and that finish is 100% done. Then I do one of my little secret sauces, which is water buffalo hide for the feet. So I'll go through and cut out some water buffalo hide, contact cement them to the feet, trim them to size, and just, man, it's just such a nice, classy little touch to the end. Then we'll go ahead and test the top cushion, and we'll take a look at some beautiful final glamour shots.